I guess the roles that I've always responded to were less the sort of heroic, charming, dashing lad, and more of the sort of oddball characters that have flaws.
Have your goals changed over the years?
Yeah. You go from a young actor who wants to be famous or to wanting longevity and integrity.
What's been your craziest fan encounter?
My craziest fan encounters are the people that think I'm someone else.
Really?
Like someone will come up to me on the street and say, I just have to say, I grew up watching those films with my father, and when you did the film, you just brought it back, so thank you, Chris Pine.
Plus, secret talent.
Decent with accents, I guess.
Yeah? It's here in Australia. The Australian's not British.
Right, no. We at Westworld, so you go into this park, and you can shoot or kill or sleep with whoever you want.
Excellent. That's Australian. All next on Larry King Now. Our guest today on Larry King Now is actor James Marsden, with memorable roles in The Notebook, I cried, 30 Rock, The Butler, the X-Men franchise, Anchorman 2, and Enchanted. He's equal parts leading man, superhero, and comic relief. James stars as Teddy Flood in the highly anticipated new Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy series, Westworld, premieres on HBO on October 2nd. Oh, I always never forget the movie.
Oh, it was a wonderful movie.
Give us the little of the plot.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And second, so Westworld is a theme park. It was a movie in 1973, created, written, and directed by Michael Crichton, who also did Jurassic Park. It was never a novel. It was written as a screenplay for the big screen. It basically is another theme park for adults who want to go to a lawless town, a Wild West town, and the idea behind it is that it's like a video game where you can go and fulfill any sort of dark desires without...
Go to the bar, ride a horse.
Yep, shoot people. And the Western town is inhabited with AI, and they are virtually indistinguishable from humans. So it's a fully immersive experience to go and get lost and sort of leave your ID behind.
It was a great movie. Yul Brynner and others was a great movie.
Yeah.
And the robots go crazy.
Yeah, in the original film, I mean, we're doing something somewhat different. The film was great and has it's an iconic film and got a great cult following and everything. But when you're doing a TV series, looking at Westworld through the lens of a series, we're able to take a more sort of novelistic approach towards it. The movie, you can only go down so many roads for so long.
So who are you?
So I play a character by the name of Teddy Flood. He's a new sort of mysterious person that comes into the town.
He's a robot?
We don't know yet. But he's very good with a gun, and he's got his eyes on Evan Rachel Wood's character, Dolores. And
is she a robot?
She is. She is.
So he may be a robot. She is a robot.
Yes, you are correct.
Do you buy, there are some who buy the thought that, crazy enough, that we are artificial intelligence. We have been created by some...
Yeah.
Us, you and me and the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess one of the things that I like about the show is that the sort of exploration of the idea of when does consciousness begin and end. These robots, these hosts as we call them in Westworld, have gained some pretty exceptional level of sentience, which is a level of consciousness and can feel and think and respond and are programmed to respond to humans. So what is cool about the show is that you see these creations, like in filmmaking history, the humans are always the protagonists, and in Westworld, the hosts are the protagonists, and we start to empathize with them and their plight, and they're coming to the realization that they are, they know what they are, that they are creations.
That's different from the movie.
Yes, it is. In the movie, and in Westworld, period, the guests' guns don't work on other guests. They do work on the hosts, so you can get in a gunfight and blast a host away, but it would not work on another human. And in the film, when the malfunctioning starts to happen, then...
It kills you.
Right. But we've switched it. Our point of view is from the host's perspective, and what that would feel like to be a creation in the eyes of what humans...
That's a great idea.
And then when they realize whether or not they actually want to be, if humanness is something they aspire to or not.
Was it fun shooting?
Oh, it was a blast. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, you know, as an actor, it felt like, you know, you were a guest at Westworld. I got to fully immerse myself into the Wild West thing. I was wearing Western clothes every day, cowboy hat, chaps.
So you're a boy again.
Oh yeah, I'm an
Little
8-year-old boy again. Absolutely. Get to horse riding lessons and gunplay lessons and fulfill that sort of childhood fantasy.
You've said you've always felt more like a character actor. Why? I mean, you're a leading man type.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. I guess the roles that I've always responded to were less the sort of heroic, charming, you know, dashing lad, and more of the sort of oddball characters that have flaws. It's more interesting to me, I guess. And that's how I viewed myself growing up. I was never the guy in high school that was like.
No?
No. I was a sort of theater geek.
Where'd you grow up?
Oklahoma.
Does each episode have a conclusion? In other words, if I come in on episode 3, am I okay if I miss 1 and 2?
Well, the answer that HBO would want me to say is yes. You can jump in at any point. That said, it's by design, you're meant to be left with some lingering questions.
So does each new episode give you a little reprise of the previous one?
Yes, you'll have that. Yeah, it will be easy to follow, but the themes and the questions that need to be answered are still going to be there, needing to be answered by the end of the season, even if you watched from episode 1 or started watching at episode 3.
Big cast?
Huge cast. Anthony Hopkins, Ed Harris, Tandy Newton, Jeffrey Wright.
Hopkins told me he was in this.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Did you work with him?
Yeah, wonderful man.
The best.
Yeah, delightful. My first scene with him was a 3-page, a couple-minute scene, and first time I'd met him and worked with him, and in between takes he would go off and do Marlon Brando impersonations.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah, he's great. He enjoys being in front of the camera, and he enjoys what he does, for sure.
Our guest is Westworld star James Marsden. We're taking a look back at his Oklahoma roots right after the break. We're back with James Marsden. Westworld premieres on HBO October 2nd. It was a movie back many years ago. This takes it from a different perspective. Really a great idea from a different perspective. You grew up in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, yeah.
Did many of your friends want to be actors?
Yes, I grew up not into all the athletics and things that some of the other guys that the women were into, the girls were into. I was a theater geek. I was in musicals and one-act plays in high school, and so I had some friends that were in my theater classes with me that did aspire to do that. I think the sort of common idea was that it was an unrealistic thing to pursue as a real career.
All right, we think of New York and Chicago and L.A. You're in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Do you go to college?
I went to Oklahoma State for about 3 semesters just to get a dose of the college experience. But it was never, it wasn't anything that I wanted to do that college at the time was providing for me. I was around people that were getting agriculture degrees and business degrees.
They didn't have a theater major?
They did. I just, I didn't pursue it at the time. I wasn't in theater in college. I'd met a few people that lived out in Los Angeles, that actors on Full House and Growing Pains, the 80s sitcoms, on vacation just by happenstance, and got to be friends with them. So I thought I had like a connection in Hollywood.
So did you move here?
I did when I was 19.
On your own, just?
On my own, yeah.
And did what?
I was very lucky.
Were you a waiter?
I wasn't, actually. So I didn't really pay the acting dues with the waiting the tables, but I got very, very lucky. My father grew up with someone who was a casting director, a successful one, and he agreed to introduce me to a legitimate manager, and the guy sent me out on auditions like three or four times a day.
What was your first paying job?
My first paying job was 2 lines on the pilot of The Nanny with Fran Drescher in 1993.
What was your break?
I would say my big break was probably the first X-Men film. That sort of was the first film, the first experience that put me out
How'd you
to
get
the world.
it?
Just, little elbow grease, blood, sweat, and tears, pounding the pavement for a long time. I had the opportunity to meet with Bryan Singer, the director, and he was reading people for the role, and I went in and read, and he brought me back about 4 times after that over the course of 3 or 4 months, and then eventually was cast in the role.
Tough business.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to have a thick skin.
You're not the norm.
No. I was very lucky. No, I got work very, very early on into moving out.
Most people in SAG are out of work. I mean, it's an out-of-work union.
Yeah, I know.
It's a between-jobs union.
Yeah, there's a great disparity between that small percentage of people who are working and aren't.
Do you get better roles the older you get?
I think I do. but I also think my tastes change. You know, when you get older, your standards shift, and you look for more adult content. You know.
Do people kid you about The Notebook? I mean, I enjoy it. It was a real tearjerker.
Yeah, I cried at the premiere of The Notebook, and I was in the film. It was just one of those experiences where everything lined up. You know, the movie gods were smiling on you. Ryan and Rachel were phenomenal, and James and Jenna. Everyone was top of their game during that movie.
Garner was a terrific guy.
Yeah, he was. Another Oklahoman.
Yeah, he was.
Norman, Oklahoma. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel for the females in your industry on this pay issue? And
I do. I see no reason why that should not be equality across the board for everybody. And I would see that, you know, I would be very frustrated knowing that someone else has more opportunities than I do.
What's been your craziest fan encounter?
My craziest fan encounters are the people that think I'm someone else.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
someone will come up to me on the street and say, I just have to say, I grew up watching those films with my father. It was a thing that we did. You know, every Sunday we would watch that TV show. And when you did the film, you just brought it back. You know, so thank you, Chris Pine. And I go, all right, you're talking about Star Trek. Yeah.
We're talking dream co-stars and guilty pleasures after the break with James Marsden. Don't forget, Westworld premieres on HBO October 2nd. We'll be right back. We're back with James Marsden. He stars in Westworld. It premieres on HBO on October 2nd. What do you make of this president? Do you get involved in politics?
I'm engaged and interested to see, you know, what's going to go down in November.
Who are you for?
I'm with her.
It's that kind of race.
Yeah, I'm with her. You know, I will say, I don't really get overly political with you know, being an actor. Sometimes you see a lot of actors getting sometimes too far into it. But I will say that this year is special in that the good thing to come of all of it, of this sort of carnival that we're witnessing, is that the two candidates are so polarizing that I've never seen more young people involved and engaged and interested and talking about it. So that's fantastic.
You have teenage?
I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old boy.
I got 17 and 16, both into the politics.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that, you know, you can roll your eyes and look at the sort of circus that's going on. The good thing is that everybody's, you know, so hopefully that will turn into more voting.
Are you close with the kids?
Very close, yeah. It's the thing that I'm most proud of, and it's my #1 priority in life. Love being a father. Yeah.
Me too.
It's the reason I'm here.
We play a little game of If You Only Knew. Okay, I just throw questions at you.
Oh, great.
Okay, James, who was your childhood celebrity crush?
Phoebe Cates from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Secret.
I would probably, I see several men nodding in the room.
Secret talent.
Decent with accents, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like?
Oh, I knew you were going to do that.
Oh, give me what, Spanish?
I could do Australian. I could do some Scottish.
You're an Australian. The Australian's not British.
Right, no. We know Westworld, so you go into this park and you can shoot or kill or sleep with whoever you want without consequences. And
excellent. That's Australian. Something you wish you were better at.
Well, now accents after that. I wish I was better at drawing, at art, painting.
Who would you trade places with for a day?
You. That'd be a great one.
Characteristic you value most in others?
Honesty.
And in yourself?
Loyalty.
Guilty pleasure?
Chocolate and peanut butter.
Together?
Yes.
You mix chocolate with peanut butter? Oh, yeah, like...
yeah, like the old ads from Reese's, right?
Reese's butter?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, yeah. I guess chocolate in general, maybe.
Best money you ever earned?
Well, I guess the hardest I felt like I've ever worked was mowing lawns in Oklahoma for, you know, $20 for 3 hours of mowing.
What do people get wrong about Hollywood?
That it's all fake, that we're full of a bunch of phonies who are just...
I find it the opposite.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a long time living here to get to see that, though.
What do they get wrong about you?
That I'm not Chris Pine. I think that if you don't know me, that maybe you wouldn't assume that I have maybe the sort of sense of humor that I have. I don't know. I'm as goofy as I am.
And fatherhood is the most important thing to you.
Oh, yeah.
Not looking good or acting or...
No.
Someone you'd love to work with?
Well, it used to be Anthony Hopkins, and now we've sort of realized that. I mean, when I was younger, it was always Harrison Ford. He was my favorite.
Good guy.
Paul Newman, you know, he was one of my favorites. But nowadays, maybe more directors, like Coen Brothers. The best.
What do you sing in the shower?
Not Adele.
Tell me something people don't know about you.
It's kind of all out there now. I'm a hobbyist. I guess people
Like
may
what?
know that, but I don't know. I just it kind of just keeps you on a good path. Like
So what's
in between acting jobs, photography, guitars. I play music.
You
play music and sing. It's always something that I probably would have done had I not found some success as an actor.
James will answer your social media questions in our final segment. We'll be right back. We're back with James Marsden. He stars in Westworld. It premieres October 2nd on HBO. I'm really looking forward
So am I.
to see it. You've sung in a few movies, right?
I have.
And you ever thought about putting out an album?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I guess, I don't know. I guess with music, I feel like I've always been more of a mimic than
Imitating Sinatra? Or?
Yeah. Actually, I grew up with listening to Sinatra and Harry Connick and some of the old crooners, and I was always one to sort of emulate other people and less, at least how I viewed myself, less of that artist that's creating something.
But you enjoy singing.
I love singing. Yeah.
You also modeled?
I did some really excellent modeling
For
the Sunday paper in Oklahoma City. Some really
What did you model?
Good
Clothing?
work. Yeah, overalls, you know, cowboy hats, things like that. I think there's a, I don't know if it's a rumor anymore, but that I started as a model, and that's inaccurate. But I did do some modeling for Versace after I found some success as an actor.
Is that kind of tough? That's kind of weird, isn't it?
It's the hardest thing. It's the one thing I don't really love about this business. I don't like having a camera pointed at me and and standing and modeling without being able to talk or say anything or do anything is it's just an uncomfortable thing for me.
We have some social media questions for you. Mal Barja via Facebook. What's the best advice you got when you were younger?
Is to treat other people with respect, and you will do well in life.
Martine Zawindi wants to know what your hobbies are. Well, you already told us guitar.
I mean, I'm sort of manic about it. I'll switch. I'll go from. I was into learning about art this year. Some of the great sort of contemporary artists these days, and got fully. When I take up a hobby, I have to immerse myself into it 100%. I'll nonstop read online, books, everything. I have to.
Have you been to
master
the
it.
Braun Museum downtown?
Yeah, I was there a couple weeks ago.
What a museum!
Yeah. I actually visited Riche's studio. Ed Riche, he's one of my favorites. Another Oklahoman.
Aximol on Facebook. Do you still have the Magic 8-Ball from Interstate 60? And how did you like shooting that film?
That's a movie, Interstate 60, I did with Gary Oldman, and it was a really interesting and magical script, and the movie was turned out nicely, but I don't think many people saw it.
It was a thriller, wasn't it?
No, it was a road trip. It was from the writer of Back to the Future, and Bob Gale, and it's a road trip where Gary Oldman and I just go on a road trip across the United States and trying to find the meaning of life together.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah.
At Boomer812 wants to know which of your co-stars was the best kisser.
This one could get me in trouble. I may have to plead the fifth on this one. You know,
Who were a few?
Well, I remember, like, you know, Katie Holmes was one of my first kisses in Disturbing Behavior, my first film that I ever did, and I think I remember that because it was like my first full-on kiss. As an actor, like, you don't.
It's acting. I
Oh,
mean,
you're
you don't
just
get
not
turned
thinking
on.
about it. No, not at all. Not at all. It's quite the opposite, actually, because you're worrying about whether or not you're in her light, or, you know, the 20 grips standing around you and camera operators like watching it go down. You know, it's just not anything, sexy about it.
At AlstonBoy4315, ask him when he's going to get his fine self on Twitter.
Funny, I may have just joined Twitter, but not as me. I may have just joined it
With a false name?
With a false name, just so I can follow some like breaking news, and like I'm really into football in the NFL, so I'm like following injury updates.
Who's your team?
I play fantasy football. So I didn't grow up with an NFL team in Oklahoma, so I don't really have any strong allegiance towards any of the clubs.
Have you done well at fantasy?
I have. It's a massive waste of time, but it's a fun waste of time.
What's next for you?
Well, we'll see. I'm out promoting Westworld right now, and I'm getting ready to do a film with Woody Harrelson and Tommy Lee Jones, and so I'm looking forward to that.
What kind of movie?
It's a political thriller about the Bush administration, their decision to go to war with Iraq after 9/11.
True story, then.
True story. And it follows two reporters that worked for Knight Ridder, and they were basically unearthing false intelligence. It was the reason why the Bush administration went to war with Iraq after 9/11.
Have your goals changed over the years?
Yeah. You know, you go from a young actor who wants to be famous or, you know, or be popular to wanting longevity and integrity and good content.
I'll give you a great Sinatra quote to me. There's a lot to be said for longevity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was
Not
you look
bad.
up longevity in the dictionary, the picture of Sinatra.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks to my guest, James Marsden. Westworld premieres October 2nd, 9 p.m. on HBO. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. See you next time. On Larry King Now, James Marsden.
I guess the roles that I've always responded to were less the sort of heroic, charming, you know, dashing lad, and more of the sort of oddball characters that have flaws.
Have your goals changed over the years?
Yeah. You go from a young actor who wants to be famous or to wanting longevity and integrity.
What's been your craziest fan encounter?
My craziest fan encounters are the people that think I'm someone else.
Really?
Like someone will come up to me on the street and say, I just have to say, I grew up watching those films with my father, and when you did the film, you just brought it back, you know, so thank you, Chris Pine.
Plus, secret talent.
Decent with accents, I guess.
Yeah? It's here in Australia. The Australian's not British.
Right, no. We're at Westworld, so you go into this park, and you can shoot or kill or sleep with whoever you want.
Excellent. That's Australian. All next on Larry King Now. Our guest today on Larry King Now is actor James Marsden, with memorable roles in The Notebook, I cried, 30 Rock, The Butler, the X-Men franchise, Anchorman 2, and Enchanted. He's equal parts leading man, superhero, and comic relief. James stars as Teddy Flood in the highly anticipated new Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy series, Westworld, premieres on HBO on October 2nd. Oh, I always never forget the movie.
Oh, it was a wonderful movie.
Give us a little of the plot.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And second, so Westworld is a theme park. It was a movie in 1973, created, written, and directed by Michael Crichton, who also did Jurassic Park. It was never a novel. It was written as a screenplay for the big screen. It basically is another theme park for adults who want to go to a lawless town, a Wild West town, and the idea behind it is that it's like a video game where you can go and fulfill any sort of dark desires without...
Go to the bar, ride a horse.
Yep, shoot people. And the western town is inhabited with AI, and they are virtually indistinguishable from humans. So it's a fully immersive experience to go and get lost and sort of leave your ID behind.
It's a great movie. Yul Brynner and others was a great movie.
Yeah.
And the robots go crazy.
Yeah, in the original film, I mean, we're doing something somewhat different. The film was great and has it's an iconic film and got a great cult following and everything. But when you're doing a TV series, looking at Westworld through the lens of